What's up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to the NFL pre-lock show. It is finally the playoffs. We made it through the long grind of the NFL season, and I gotta say, most seasons I feel like it went by really quick, and this season I don't feel like it went by slowly by any means. I feel like it went by decently quick too, but this one I felt finally kind of actually happy for playoffs. Usually I'm like, no more NFL DFS. I don't want it to end, but this time I was actually kind of like, I'm ready for it to be done. I'm ready for a little break here. My name is TJ Zwarych. I'm joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, we got my guy, Tasteful Tides, Tim Buell. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. I'm really never ready for football to end. I like playing DFS football quite a bit, so I'm not looking forward to the end. I'm looking forward to some strong finishes in DFS in these next couple of weeks, and breaking down the slate with you two today.
I am ready as well, and helping us with tournament takes today, Kyle Murray with the nice Detroit Red Wings hat. How you doing, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm excited for these playoff slates that have been shifted around today, at least on FanDuel, with some of the news moving around with that game being shifted to Monday, which is very interesting for some bettors. I know there's some angry people out there, that's for sure, some angry under bettors. But I think it'll be a good week of football. Hopefully, some good competitive games, and hopefully we get some winners here.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I hammered a lot of unders on the Bills game, and so obviously not very happy about that. But I do want to shout out Prize Picks, because Prize Picks, if you message their support, they will refund your Bills and Steelers DFS pick'em selections. So that was pretty nice of them. I was happy about that. But let's start getting into the DFS slate, because we don't have much time. We got two games here on Saturday. Like you said, the Sunday stuff is going to switch a little bit. Maybe we'll touch on just some quick thoughts on that after, but we'll mainly focus here on the 2-game slate before lock. And of course, if anyone has questions, drop your questions about any of the slates. We'll answer questions about any of the slates, but in terms of our content for today, we're going to focus on mostly the 2-game slate here. Tim, I'll stick with you for kind of cash and optimal style builds here for this. Do you want to give us your kind of slate overview, or if you want, because I know you're coming off, just starting to slowly feel a little bit better here from being sick. You feel to toss that over to Kyle if you'd rather him take the slate overview.
No, I can talk about it. Yeah, I mean, definitely the big story is going to be, the weather in KC, and it's going to be about negative 15-degree wind chill. So that's really kind of I think putting a damper on some of those big name KC Miami guys in terms of their projection. Cleveland, Houston's in a dome, so ownership is flocking heavily towards that dome game. Now, maybe I wasn't really paying attention during the week to totals, but I was surprised that, it's only a 1.5 point difference between these two games. Now, obviously, the safer option, the more optimal approach, is going to be going with that Cleveland Houston game. But like I said, the totals really aren't that much different. So, if you wanted to get to pieces of that KC Miami, even in cash games, I think that's a good play. Joe Flacco is obviously going to be I think he's going to be the chalkiest quarterback. He's definitely the safest quarterback, I'd say. He's cheap on both FanDuel and DK. And then really these Cleveland guys, and then a run back to Houston. That's going to be your chalk build. And then I think maybe Kyle could break down some ways, and TJ could break down some ways of building out from that chalk and getting leverage on the field in larger field GPPs.
Yeah, I like it. And it's kind of crazy to me right now looking at the projected ownership on FanDuel, with Tua Tagovailoa being the cheapest quarterback and the lowest owned. Kyle, that to me, I love that for tournaments over on FanDuel. My mindset's a little different on DraftKings when we pivot there, but starting on our sponsor FanDuel, CJ Stroud and Tua Tagovailoa, the two cheapest and two of the lower owned QBs. That's where I want to be spending most of my lineups on FanDuel.
Yeah, exactly. I think Tim broke it down well with the weather. I think a lot of people, especially when you have in the NFL where you're talking about weather games for the whole week, right? Especially in the playoffs where everyone's talking about one game, one or two games this week. There's so much focus on the weather. And, you break down, you look at Vegas totals, they're pretty similar. Look at the implied team totals. Miami's the lowest at 19.5, but, 4.5 points behind Kansas City. It's really not that dramatic from a overall expectation standpoint when we're, kind of expecting fantasy points. Like if all three of these or all four teams go out and score, 2 touchdowns and a field goal, it wouldn't really be all that surprising. So I think from that standpoint, Miami can still be right in from a tournament take standpoint. I think Miami is the team that you want to look at if you're looking to instantly get the most leverage. Just because again, we've heard it all week, that the Miami boys aren't going to be able to go up in the cold and play. I think I've heard a stat about their ability to cover spreads in sub 20-degree weather, being like 0-11 or something in playoff games. So, it can be a lot of fluky numbers that people are pulling out because they are kind of catchy because you're talking about weather. But at the end of the day, I do think it's tough to really quantify how much it's going to affect the game and how much it could potentially negatively impact their offense. But from a tournament standpoint, I think they're definitely in play. I think the Cleveland-Houston game, there's still some contrarian kind of edges to the game if you want to kind of flip the script from a game standpoint. A lot of people look to be stacking Joe Flacco with 2, maybe even 3 pass catchers, and then using Devin Singletary on the run back. But you can actually flip that, start with Houston passing attack, use Jerome Ford on the other side, and get pretty different there. So those are the top 2 ways that I'm looking to get contrarian. It would be with the Houston passing attack, bringing back with Jerome Ford, and then with the Miami passing attack.
I like it a lot, and we'll start going position by position on our sponsor, FanDuel. Crunch time, presented by FanDuel. Bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Those of you in the great state of Vermont now have access to the FanDuel Sportsbook as well with a special offer. Bet $5, get $200 in bonus bets on any market. Terms and conditions apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. We also did have another question in chat about what do you like on an over under 250 passing yards? What would you take there for CJ Stroud, Kyle? I want to throw that one to you as I bring up our props and pick'em package, because if I'm not mistaken, both of you are on that team for the various sports. And so check out the brand new props and pick'em package. The experts at the RotoGrinders projections team take our premium stats and comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Using our model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, and how likely the prop will hit based on our tool. You can also now try out the props and pick'em package as a 3-day pass. This will auto-renew at the monthly rate at the end of the 3 days, though. So if you don't want it, make sure you check on that. It'll auto-renew. And you can use the link in our description for more info right down below. Smash that like button for us. I mean, I might as well get the SimLabs one out of the way, too, because if you want to use SimLabs for the slate, like there's 20 minutes. You got to get it done now. So if you're using SimLabs for NFL or for the NBA slate later on, which the 3 of us will be on later again, breaking down, you can use SimLabs to generate DFS lineups through the power of simulation. It combines data from every aspect of the slate to churn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. Now, including NBA, you can try out NBA SimLabs for free while it is in beta using the link in our description. All Combo and NFL Premium subscribers currently have access to NFL. That'll be what it's like for NBA when it's out of beta. So make sure you check it out for either of the slates. It's a fantastic tool. Kyle, who do you got? What do you got? Over or under 250 passing yards for Stroud?
Yeah, I actually took the over I think it was 244.5 on FanDuel. It's at 250 on some other sites. So I took the over on FanDuel. Obviously, just got a little bit of a nice lower number there. So I actually took that. I think it was earlier today. So yep, my picks and I guess package plays there. It's already in there. So yeah, I'll take the over there.
Heck yeah. Tim, why don't we go position by position for a cash game / optimal style single entry even, and position by position, and then we'll do the same for Kyle for tournaments, and then switch over to DraftKings.
Yeah, so Joe Flacco is definitely your cash game quarterback, in my opinion. I think he is by far the safest. He is $200 less than Mahomes, but like we said, we have those pretty significant weather concerns in that KC game. I think they're going to be handing the ball off quite a bit in Kansas City, so that takes me off of Mahomes. I think you could play CJ Stroud in cash, but But really, I think it's Flacco is your guy pretty clearly in cash. And then running back Isaiah Pacheco, he's going to be the cash game, like single entry cash games. He's going to be extremely popular. We have him currently 52% owned on FanDuel, and that's fine. I mean, we're talking about cash games right now, so Pacheco's definitely your running back one. And then I think it's Devin Singletary would be my running back two. The question kind of is like, do you want to go 3 running backs on this slate, or do you want to go 4 wide receivers in cash? I don't know if Kyle has a lean. Is Mostert playing, Kyle? Do you have a lean on that?
Yeah, I think right now, I mean, we're projecting him in, and I do think he does play. So maybe slightly limited, but I think he plays.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I'm still kind of thinking like, ways of like building a cash team. But yeah, you could play Jerome Ford. But definitely it's definitely Pacheco, and it's definitely Singletary. Wide receiver, it's Nico Collins for me. He's definitely going to be Stroud's primary target. It's kind of weird not to say Tyreek Hill, but I mean, I think it's a really tough matchup for him. It's a really bad, it's really bad weather, and KC is quite good against the pass. So I'm not going to be playing Tyreek in cash. It's definitely going to be Nico and Amari for me, just because I know that Flacco loves to throw to Amari, and I think that that's the best way to go about it. Tight end.
One quick question I want to have for you, Tim. Are you playing any cash or single entry for the full weekend slate?
I'm not.
Kyle, are you doing any tournaments for the full?
No, I'm just breaking it down to the different slates each day.
Yeah, fair. So I'm doing one for the. I know we have a few questions about it, and I do have one lineup for the full. I just, in terms of, if people are wondering how they should prioritize Amari Cooper and Nico Collins over the context of the full slate, because these are the 2 top options at receiver today, and they probably extend as 2 of the top options on the full slate. We do have some really strong cheap options like a DeMarcus Robinson, maybe some Eagles value now without AJ Brown too. But in that price range, I would kind of put Amari Cooper, Nico Collins, and Devonta Smith as 1A, 1B, 1C. For the receivers you're trying to target in that range. All 3 of them are the options, but I would put them above the Rices, the Waddles, the Tyreek Hills, even the CeeDee Lambs for me, just because he's a little bit more expensive. So that's kind of how I'm prioritizing those guys. Feel free to take it to tight end now, Tim. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of depends on what you have left for salary. Njoku for 7K or Schultz for 5.9. Those are the 2 options. Kelsey, unbelievable tournament pivot, but really for cash games, you're going Njoku or Schultz. You have to make a decision if you want to get all your stud wide receivers in there or play Njoku. We know that Flacco loves throwing to Njoku, so you might elect to go a little bit lower in one of your wide receiver spots and play him instead. If you don't want to do that, I would go Schultz.
I like it. And then defense for cash games, play whichever one fits your lineup. It really doesn't matter, but I'd say maybe straight up point per dollar, like Kansas City would probably be the best one.
If you had to pick one, I think it's Kansas City, but I could see taking the savings and paying 3.7 for Miami, despite the fact that they're banged up. But I think cash, you're playing the Chiefs.
All right, let's go through position by position here quick for tournaments, Kyle, and then we'll pivot over to DraftKings.
Yeah, for tournaments, I honestly think that if you are playing in smaller field stuff, pretty much any quarterback not named Joe Flacco will be pretty contrarian. I do think that people will definitely grasp on Flacco. I think it makes a lot of sense. He's one of the stronger value options. I think he is the clear cash guy, but I think that in tournaments, people are also going to flock that way because it's so easy to overstack and double and even triple stack with a guy like Elijah Moore as a value piece as well. But Tua is going to be extremely low, and I think we have him at 18% right now on FanDuel. I think that'll probably come in lower. I do think that, especially in smaller field stuff, he's going to be very low owned. So stacking to go ahead.
It's really worth noting that This is probably the among the most affordable a Tua, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle stack has been all year, and it's low owned on a 2-game slate.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of ownership, it's going to be so so condensed on the first game. So just even stacking the second game, or even you're not going overboard, but even just like doing a smaller stack, even just with a positional player stack in that second game, outside of Isaiah Pacheco, I think you can be pretty unique that way. So I don't think you need to go overboard with that game and still get pieces of that game to be unique. But if you start with the Miami passing game, you'll for sure be unique. And honestly, Kansas City, we have Mahomes projecting for a pretty sizable number, but I don't think that a double stack with Mahomes is going to be all that popular because of how popular Isaiah Pacheco is going to be. So I think there's plenty of ways in that second game to still get quite different here. And I think bottom line is if you don't play Joe Flacco, you are off to a good head start of being different. My two favorites are Stroud and Tua. Stroud's obviously I think safer. He's playing in the dome. Difficult matchup here, but there are some injury concerns for Cleveland. Denzel Ward's active. He's going to play, but it sounds like he's pretty banged up still. He got hurt this week in practice, so maybe he's just gutting through it there. But Stroud and Tua I like quite a bit. For running backs, for contrarian options, Jerome Ford, I mentioned him earlier. He's my favorite running back on the slate today. The matchup isn't ideal, but there really aren't any great matchups this week for running backs. It's just, there's some good defenses playing on this slate, but him and Devon Achane, I think, are my two favorites right now. Raheem Mostert, he's highly questionable. We do think he plays as of now, but there's going to be a lot of scenarios where guys are playing this week, but they're, essentially just trying to gut through it, right? Like, for example, a guy like Sam Laporta tomorrow, they could just be active, but probably not playing at their full strength or maybe even their full snap. So Ford and Achane are my two favorite tournament running backs. For wide receivers, either Dolphins players, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. I mean, when I think of snow games, and I know it's a little bit different, it's going to be more more so cold here, but I think back to late last year when Miami went into Buffalo. It was terrible weather. I remember vividly because I sat Jalen Waddle in a must-win game in fantasy playoffs, and he caught a 70-yard touchdown on the first drive. Things can happen in bad weather, right? So I wouldn't write these guys off just because the weather is bad. So Hill, Waddle, I think are both strong contrarian options. Robert Woods also makes some sense as a value piece. Noah Brown, he's been banged up as well, so maybe it's a spot where he's limited. But I would say for the most part, those two Dolphins receivers are the big contrarian pieces that I like the most. I do think Cooper and Collins are smash plays. For tight ends, it's probably the worst tight end slate you could ever see. There's pretty much three options that are playable. Tim mentioned them all: Njoku, Schultz, and Kelsey. Kelsey's probably going to be the contrarian option of this group here. I guess if you wanted to get strange and play Durham Smythe, you could potentially do so, or maybe play Noah Gray over Travis Kelce and hope Noah Gray finds the end zone. That's very large field dart stuff. I don't think you necessarily need to do that anyways, because Dalton Schultz is there at 5'9", so you're not even getting much of a discount there for punting. And then defense, yeah, same thing qualifies there. Just try to play whoever fits, and then hope that they aren't going against two or three of your players in the remaining parts of your lineup.
If you're playing something lower dollar in a large field and you still want to try and get unique, I think that's the best thing you could do is play Tua Tagovailoa, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Durham Smythe. Tua throws 4 touchdowns, 1 to Smythe, 2 to Hill, 1 to Waddle. You win yourself a GPP. It's beautiful. Run it back with Pacheco. I think that's how I would be wanting to do it over on FanDuel. Tim, let's go quick position by position cash. Then we'll go position by position tournament. Two guys I want to quickly mention I really like for tournaments on the Cleveland side of things. Oops, I clicked NBA. To get a little bit different is, instead of even Jerome Ford, who on FanDuel is more expensive, go to Kareem Hunt as a big-time salary saver, sub 20%. And then David Bell, I think, is a low floor but high ceiling tournament option without Cedric Tillman in there today. We're expecting a ton of passing for Cleveland. I think he is very interesting as well. We'll take QQs immediately after we go position by position here from the RotoGrinders live stream Discord chat and from YouTube. If you have questions about the 2-game slate, a showdown of the 6-gamer, whatever it is, all questions are allowed, but we are going to focus on the 2-game for position by position here. Starting at quarterback, it's Joe Flacco for cash here, Tim.
Yeah. There's no debate on DraftKings about who your cash game quarterback is. He's way too cheap. His ownership is going to be through the roof on DK. He's 6,100, 100% your cash game guy. Pacheco and Singletary are both too cheap. They're 100% your RB1 and RB2. And then you can make decisions about what you want to do with the Dolphins guys or Jerome Ford, or play perhaps a tight end or a wide receiver in your flex. My 2 cash games, the same basically as FanDuel. It's Nico Collins and Amari Cooper. And then you got some value guys like Elijah Moore, Robert Woods, David Bell. Like if you really need to punt, there's a couple interesting punts that you can play. And then tight end, it's the same thing. It's Njoku and Schultz, and then Kelsey is your tournament guy. So I would really prefer if people got to Njoku in cash games at 5-6. I think that's just too cheap. So and then defense, it's the Chiefs as your cash game defense.
Very easy if you're playing cash games to just start. This is the build that you start out with. You got 3 positions left. Choose your cheap receiver, choose your flex, and choose Njoku or Schultz. You got 5K-ish remaining per position. A pretty straightforward cash game build. Kyle, how we getting different in tournaments starting at the quarterback position?
Yeah, honestly, the sites don't really matter a whole lot in terms of how I'm feeling for tournaments. I think it's just more so, the spots that you're looking to take stands on. So the sites don't really differ in my opinions much. But just to recap, Stroud and Tua are my favorite tournament options. I do think that Joe Flacco is going to be incredibly popular, and I do think he makes the most sense from a cash and optimal perspective. But if you want to get different, the quickest way to do it is to not play Flacco and hope that he drops a dud. And I think that if you play Stroud into it, you'll have a nice bit of leverage there. For running backs, same deal. Ford and Achane are my 2 favorite tournament options. I do think Achane will probably still have some ownership, and same goes for Ford on DraftKings. Again, 2-game slate. People are going to play these guys, but I think Pacheco and Singletary are very clearly going to have the most ownership out of those 2. If you want to go even deeper, playing Raheem Mostert, I think, is still fine. Hope that he's more healthy. He's had a couple of weeks off now. Hope that he's fully healthy, or I guess as close to fully healthy as he can be, and he goes back to his ways of finding the end zone a couple times. He's had plenty of game scripts where he hasn't done a lot in between the 20s, but then he gets down in the red zone and scores 2 times and calls it a day there. Kareem Hunt, I think you can also make a case for at 4-7. There isn't a lot of great value pieces in that sort of mid-range and to lower value options on DraftKings. So Hunt could make some sense there. Could potentially be involved in the passing game. Does look like Pierre Strong. I believe he's inactive, so Pierre Strong out. Not that he was going to be a huge sort of nuisance there, but just helps Kareem Hunt's case little by little. For receivers, same sort of names here. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, I think will be the lower owned guys that I do like getting leverage on. And then Elijah Moore as well, 4K. I think he'll be pretty popular, but I still think he's one of the better value plays in the slate. And then Robert Woods, 3-6. Again, just not a lot of value. So, just looking to get a little bit different with a value play. Robert Woods kind of fits that bill there. For tight end, same thing. I do think Njoku, Schultz, and Kelsey will be pretty similarly owned throughout the majority of contests. Njoku getting the edge in terms of being the most popular option. I think Kelsey makes a lot of sense from a leverage standpoint. So if you can fit him, that's totally fine. But it is a lot easier for my lineups, at least from what I've been building, to get Schultz. So he's the guy that I'm getting the most of, Dalton Schultz. And then, same breakdown for defense.
I like it. All right. We got some time for QQs here from YouTube chat, from the RotoGrinders Discord. Make sure you get them in onto either one. Robert Woods, or this is from Michael in the YouTube chat, Robert Woods or David Bell as a punt. Tim, I see you answered Woods in chat. I kind of feel like that might be a Robert Woods in cash or single entry, and David Bell in tournaments or like larger field tournaments. Kyle, what do you think about that?
I would go Woods as well.
You guys, come on. You're crazy.
Well, it's not like Woods isn't going to be that popular, so I'm not that worried about it.
I just think Bell has a higher ceiling. I think Woods will get is a sure lock for a few more targets to be on the field for a few more plays, but I think Bell has a bit bit higher, like large field slate breaking upside of catching a 50-yard touchdown, that type of thing. Tim, on a 2-gamer, who is your favorite GPP large field stack?
Actually, for me, it would be either like really loading up on a Cleveland, like ultra, on onslaught stack to be different, or to go with Kansas City?
The Cleveland onslaught is the way that I went about it. I'm playing 20 lineups. 17 of them are Flacco, and he has at least 3 pass catchers in all of them.
That's what I'm doing in my single entry team, just because I think it's a really good spot. I'm just trying to find like a couple 1v1, 1v1, 2v2s to be different, and just onslaught in Cleveland.
Tim, what do you think about going double tight end on FanDuel?
I don't hate it. I really don't mind playing Schultz and Njoku. I don't think I'd play Kelsey in cash though.
Kyle, what do you think about Hardman as a large field GPP play?
I don't have a ton of them myself. I actually have a little bit more. I have a little bit of Justin Watson, which I also don't love. But I think in that range, I'm definitely going to be overweight on Robert Woods, just in that range. So, but Hardman has the ability to catch a long one, so I don't hate it, but I don't have a lot of it personally.
Watson, Richie James Jr. or DK or Mecole Hardman as a DraftKings punt, Tim?
I think I'd go Watson. Yeah, Watson.
St. Brown and Kraft, or Cooper and Njoku. I think that depends on your quarterback. Like if it's Flacco, it's definitely Cooper and Njoku. But I still lean that way regardless, actually, simply because not only like Musgrave is back, and so I think that lowers Kraft a little bit, and Njoku just absolutely has been smashing with him in there, with Flacco in there. 1 minute to lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. What do you think about Dak Prescott as a QB for the full slate? Nothing wrong with that at all going up against Green Bay. He's not my favorite option. He's a little bit expensive. I would rather be going to Flacco, Stroud, even Jared Goff. I think I would like better. Stafford, I would like better. So I'm personally not a fan. And Baker Mayfield, I think, is going to end up being my favorite one for tournaments. 1 minute still here for lock. Going to check Discord, see if we got anything. That seems like we did it. We got it for questions. I want one Saturday hot take as we're hitting lock right here from each of you. Tim, give me your hot take.
I'll go Elijah Moore with two touchdowns.
All right. What about you, Kyle?
I'm going to go with CJ Stroud throwing for 350 plus yards and 3 touchdowns.
I'm going to say David Bell catches a 50-yard touchdown pass today. That'll do it for the NFL Pre-Lock Show. We will be back 2 hours from now, breaking down the NBA 7-game slate on DraftKings and FanDuel. The 3 of us will be talking NBA, so make sure you tune back in for that one. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us today. On behalf of myself, Tim, Kyle, the whole RotoGrinders team, we will see you back here soon. Good luck on the NFL slate. Peace.